Hello, welcome to the podcast. My name is Emma Rose. I am the head of marketing here at Rouman Cinema.
And I am Wyatt Leonard. I am a supervisor here at the Rouman Cinema.
Rouman Amusement Company was created 100 years ago in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, which today consists of Rouman Cinema and Fun Factory Sweet Shop. We are starting this podcast to chat about the top movies each week. So today we are talking about Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, which we just got done watching. And what did you think?
So first impressions, I thought visually it looked very good. I'm not very familiar with the story of Harry Potter, and so I just kind of looked at it from how does it look and how does it, how does it feel? Like, is the story like I thought? The story was good, even though I don't really, I'm not too familiar with the characters, but I thought visually it was amazing. I thought it was a very good experience for a movie.
I would agree. I would agree that the visuals they upheld the movie on its own. So, yeah, I don't think you have to know the story necessarily to enjoy this movie. I think it would help for sure to just know the characters a little bit deeper. But, yeah, it does stand alone pretty well. So, a couple people in this movie were Eddie Redmayne. He won an Oscar for The Theory of Everything. And then, of course, Jude Law he plays Dumbledore, and he is a 2-time Oscar nominee. So this is the third installment of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, which is a prequel series to the original Harry Potter series. Have you seen any of the other Fantastic Beasts?
I have not.
I have not either.
All right.
Yeah, so this isn't expected to be as good as the first one. The second one was said to not be as good as the first, but this one's supposed to be better than the second. So, and an article by Amy Nicholson from the New York Times, a quote from theirs: "It was odd how recent fantasy films seem to be made primarily for adults. It was hard to imagine kiddos waiting in line for butterbeer at a Harry Potter theme park, being enthralled with an explainer of how toxic candidates rise to prominence. Yet there's a lovely visual that should unite the audiences of all ages, a teleportation device made from a swirl of floating book pages. The image is a reminder that fiction is not just a history lesson, but a means of escape." And I would agree that it wasn't very, great for children. I wouldn't say it was very interesting from a child's perspective, but I think it did appeal to an older audience.
Yeah, I think for being like a fantasy movie, it wasn't very fantastical. Like obviously there are elements to it that are this is, like these creatures are super, like nothing like this could exist in real life, but at the heart of the story, it's something that is very real, which is why it was written. It was written that way deliberately, 100%. It was trying to convey a message, but it almost feels like it got lost in its own head sometimes, and it didn't do enough to sort of make it feel like it was truly a fantasy. It just felt like at times the story was trying to be too real, maybe a little too gritty. I still think you bring a kid to this movie and they're gonna look at the pretty visual effects and the cool animals and say, "Oh, this is cool," but I think it does, get in its own head a little bit, and it doesn't lend itself well to that all ages sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it definitely appeals to more real life issues and topics like elections and toxic candidates. I think that's definitely a very adult issue that children may not necessarily pick up on, but that can help appealing to all ages. Box Office Pro states that although the market is competitive, the primary audience for this movie will be women over the age of 25. And the franchise has increasingly become adult-driven, with 86% of Grindelwald's opening weekend base represented by those 18 and older. So that was the second movie. So 86% of that was adult-driven. So I think they are trying to cater more towards the adults, especially within this franchise, the Fantastic Beasts franchise. But yeah, I definitely agree with everything that you're saying. So as we said earlier, the first two Fantastic Beasts films did have mixed receptions. Overall, I think this movie was very well made. I think the graphics were very well done. The creatures were very fun and interesting, I thought, to look at, and they were cute, most of them. So I think that helps its case as well.
There were a couple ugly creatures too, though. So
just to have some incredible actors Yeah, so some online circles are complimenting this third film, though, which mentions that it hardens back to some of the fan friendly storytelling that benefited the franchise in the past. And again, I'm not too familiar with the franchise to be able to comment on that
Yeah.
personally as much, but yeah. So this movie is exclusive to movie theaters, so it shouldn't be hitting any streaming services for a while. So it's definitely a great one to see in the theater as well. The visuals and
Yeah.
the sound effects are.
Yeah, the sound design was very good. The visual effects were very good. This movie was made to be watched in a movie theater, which is like, I mean, a lot of movies sort of don't lend themselves well to streaming, and this is one of those that's like, if you're not watching it in a theater, then like you're missing part of that experience. Especially if you are like a huge Harry Potter fan. Like, if you're not watching this in a theater with a bunch of other Harry Potter fans, then you're not getting the full experience. I think that's something that gets lost, and when it's something as big as this is meant to feel, you lose that. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, and I also think if you're going to watch it from more of a visual graphics perspective, I think that it really does shine on such a big screen, just like with the different perspectives, different camera angles, different shots, all of that, the coloring, everything. It just really shows off on a big screen, especially with the immersive sound and stuff. So I would definitely recommend watching this movie in theaters first over at home, just to get that full experience. Yeah, so do you have any final thoughts on the movie? What you thought? Anything on the
So
actors, maybe?
yes, Mads Mikkelsen, the third Grindelwald. I think he did absolutely incredible at playing just such a like just sociopath. I think. I mean, his character is not a good person, and it really makes you feel that it's very cold. It's all very calculated, and you can tell that like he was 100% like committed to that character, and it felt like his character was the most developed despite not having as much screen time as some of the other characters, because that's just how much work you could see was put into his character, and just how good of an actor he is using his facial expressions and like even the smallest moments. Like, I was able to pick it out and be like, yeah, this is like this. You can tell his motivations even though he hasn't said a word. It's like it's almost like he was the one actor I was focused on the most, like, because his like I mean, again, he's the third Grindelwald, so I think he wanted to put his own spin on it, and he took this very cold, very calculated approach to it, and I think it lent itself very well.
I do agree that the casting for this movie was incredible. I think each actor did and actress did an incredible job for their position. I didn't have any moments where I was like, that was horrible acting or anything like that. So that was refreshing to watch because that doesn't come along very often. Yeah, so overall, I really liked it. I thought it was great. I think it's definitely worth that experience in the theater. And while we're talking about movies at Roman Cinema, Sonic 2 is doing really well nationwide and is showing this weekend and will be showing for the next week and definitely in the future. So that's a great one to come out and watch with kids, and it's a great family-friendly sequel.
I haven't had a chance to watch the second Sonic, but I love the first Sonic, and like I was not expecting to, and so even if you have your beliefs about like kids movies, like it's just a good time. It's just a good watch.
Yeah, it's been received really well nationwide and has done really well just in theaters in general. So that's definitely a great one to come out and watch too if you want something for younger kids to enjoy as well. And aside from those two movies, Ambulance, Morbius, and The Lost City are still playing as well this weekend. Yeah, and have you seen any of those? Any
I have
comments
not,
on those?
unfortunately, but I know. I mean, Ambulance is a Michael Bay flick, so you're gonna get your explosions, you're gonna get your high octane action, but from what I've heard about it, it's also it's a very raw story, I suppose, and it's very emotional, and it's as well in a very much of an experience, and so it's supposed to be one of Michael Bay's better movies, and like I know there's a lot of like excellent camera work done with that one. So if there's one movie that I myself would want to get in here and check out, it would probably be Ambulance. And so if you're a fan of that like thriller action stuff, I'd probably say recommend that one.
Yeah, and The Lost City is another great option too. If you're looking for something a little lighter, it's definitely a comedy with Sandra Bullock.
Channing Tatum.
Yep.
Gotta
so
love 'em.
Can't go wrong with those two. So that's a great one to come watch as well. And then obviously Morbius is great as well. That's a scotch out of my movie preference, but again, you can't go wrong with it. And then a look ahead to next week's premieres on Thursday. The Bad Guys is coming, and that is a DreamWorks production.
Another lovely looking animated film. Pretty interesting story from what I've been able to gather. It looks like it's just a very fun movie, fun story, and it seems like a
Fun
good
for the whole
option.
family.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And then The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is also coming.
I'm excited.
There's a lot of hype around that one.
I love Nicolas Cage, and I want to watch Nicolas Cage do his best caricature of himself. That one looks so fun. I'm very excited.
Yep. And then the last one we have coming is The Northman. And do you have anything to say about that?
That one is definitely perhaps the most interesting of the bunch. I don't know as much about it as I do the other two, unfortunately, but it looks interesting. It looks like conceptually it's it's a good Viking story. I mean, it can't go wrong with a Viking story, right? But I mean, from the trailer and the shots they've used, it looks like it's going to be another very visually pleasing movie. It looks like they're going to aesthetically try and be as pleasing there as possible. I believe Willem Dafoe is in it, and I love Willem Dafoe, so I think if anything, he'll be the glue. I know there's a lot of very talented actors in there, actors and actresses, so I think I'd have to read up on it a little more, but I don't think that one will be a bad option at all. I think that'll be good.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be more of an intense movie, so nothing like Bad Guys, not exactly family friendly, being rated R and everything. But for an adult outing, that would be a great option. Definitely intense, and it's got 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. So.
Excellent. Well, hey, if we're talking about Rotten Tomatoes ratings, you better pull up that Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. That one. You're going to love that Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of advertisements for that, so I think it's going to do pretty well. Yep, we got 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, it's down to 97. It was at 100% for a little while.
Yeah.
That's why I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes, because it's happened so many times where a reviewer will see that, this movie's got 100%. Well, I didn't like this movie, so they'll hit it with a negative review just to drop the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yep. So take that with what you will, but so there's some exciting stuff this weekend and coming next week. So definitely stop in at the theater. There's lots of fun stuff going on. So thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week.